Okay, so I have watched the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime, and let me tell you, this is definitely 100% an adult anime. It's still probably something I would have tried to watch at 14, but I'm just saying, between the blood, gore, violence, nudity, and the themes, especially, even more so than all of that, I feel like this is really a series that is definitely made for an older audience, and for good reason, especially seeing kind of the downfall and the degradation of the main character David and everything that he goes through with making choices and dealing with the consequences of those choices. This is a very deep, dark anime, and although sometimes on the surface level with sort of the violence, it might seem like it is just nothing, it is just style over substance. I mean, you are dealing with cyberpunk as actually the title of the series, so you might go into it thinking that this is definitely style over substance, where you were just seeing, a bunch of futuristic technology where people doing crazy action things that you wouldn't think that were possible. Fight scenes are ridiculous, the sexuality is on display, and the dialogue is a little bit of hit or miss sometimes, a little bit too on the nose at some points, but overall, I think that the things that this story is trying to say are really deeply dark and depressing, and you are kind of like helplessly watching it as it goes along. There's a lot of things here, and I don't want to spoil it in this video per se. I might say one or two things towards the end of the video. I'm not really sure how deep I want to go into it, but everyone has been telling me to check out this anime since it dropped. It looked pretty cool to me. I love sort of the cyberpunk style and aesthetic, but I do have to say, 100% disclosure, I've never played the game. I've never played the video game. I know Keanu Reeves is in it, and that feels like something I should be automatically gravitated towards, but I never played it. I never checked it out. I don't know anything about the game. So how the anime relates to the world of the game, I really can't say. I really can't speak on it. This is my first exposure of jumping into the world of Cyberpunk. So this is my first exposure with the property. So never played the game, just went in straight to the anime. I don't even know if these are the main characters of the game, if this is a side story. I really have no idea. And I'm okay with that, because what I got was something that I think was truly special and truly unique. It's not going to go in my top 10 or top 15 anime of all time or anything. I mean, we only get 10 episodes, but I will say that within those 10 episodes, I seriously felt like I watched 3 seasons worth of a show, because so much happens in every episode, and this might be to its benefit. This tells a complete story. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but from beginning to end, this tells a complete, full story, to the point where I don't know how they're going to make a season 2. I could see with the popularity and how well it did that you would want to. And if you visit the cyberpunk world, I'm sure there's a lot more stuff that you could cover. But for the story that they told within these 10 episodes, I just can't. It feels like it's a one and done. It feels like it's a one season run, like a Cowboy Bebop or something like that, where it's just like, this is it, this is the story, and that's it. And in a way, maybe that would be better. Maybe that would help the legacy of this show, but I'm not sure, because we're kind of in that period where it just came out. So is the hype real because of it being new, or will this hype remain a decade from now? Will people still be talking about this anime a decade from now? And I could honestly see it going either way. I wouldn't be surprised if we were, but at the same time, I don't know. So I'm really not sure. But what can I say about this story? So there are things that are going on now that are very similar to what's happening kind of in our current world, just a little bit more advanced. And I feel like, and I could be totally wrong, maybe this is just an old man lens looking at it, but there's this thing that they do within the series called like augmentation. And when I was watching it, I kept calling it auto mail, because I fucking, they said like Full Metal Alchemist on the brain, where you have like technology enhancements to your physical body. So that's just what I think of it as. But it's, it's a whole different thing in this series. And it can be so many different things. And there seems to be limitless potential with what you can do with it, depending on how much money that you have. And some people have augmented their bodies to the point where they're barely even human anymore. And sometimes to the point where they begin losing their mind, losing their sanity a little bit. Is like, what's real, what's not real? Who are they as a person anymore? And it also becomes like an addiction. So where my mind went when I was watching this series is that it was sort of like an allegory for drug use in a way, where you would get very addicted to doing this thing. You would spend more money doing this thing. It would cause more harm to your body. Basically, it gives you a shit ton of benefit up front. The upfront value is like untold gems worth of value, but then it gives you a shit ton more problems on the back end. And I feel like that's just sort of like the allegory of it was there, And our main character, David, who's an incredible main character, because the first episode just continuously sets up how sympathetic he is and how much you want to root for him, dealing with this sort of like really struggling life, struggling through school. His mom is like working all of these jobs just to try to pay everything, and then tragedy strikes in the first episode. He's kind of left on his own to his own devices, and he starts falling into a crowd of people called Edgerunners, which are basically, how I kind of took it is, they're basically like mercenaries. They're like thieves for hire sort of thing, where they'll do things for a price and they'll do very risky, dangerous things, involve themselves with very dangerous people in order to complete some sort of mission. And with that, you get David entered into this group, and we meet this team of people. And there really is like a very deep sense of camaraderie here between them. And even in only a few episodes, we get definitely a sense of just how connected they are, how they've been through all of these experiences together, and how it's really made them like a family unit. And that's one thing that I really like to see in shows, is sort of like the makeshift family that comes with people that are misfits. These are people from all different walks of life, different ages, different genders, different augmentations, whatever they've done to their bodies. None of them really belong together, but they are together, and they somehow manage to make it work. And so David kind of gets like brought into this group and starts to like have this connection with them. There's a bit of animosity at first. They do some jobs together, and then basically you get like the main course of the show is him sort of going into this world, going deeper into this world. And he also has this augmentation to his spine that allows him to like act super fast. Like within a couple of seconds, he can get from point A to point B. It enhances his speed and enhances his endurance and everything. And it's a really cool power and ability, but it's taken a toll on his body. And the sad part of watching this show is that that's not the end of it, that he keeps augmenting as time goes on. And it really took me by surprise. I don't want to, like, it really took me by surprise because, like, instead of seeing this character like really rise up and like become his own, even though we do see him do that in a way, in another way, he really loses a sense of who he is, and sort of falls apart as the series goes on, and he's struggling harder and harder to keep up with everything. And he finds himself into like a position within the group that he never thought he would be in, and things just go like really downhill for him, while at the same time he's trying to retain to that sense of humanity that he has. He's trying to do right by the people that he is around, and he's also trying to come to terms with some of the horrible things that he's doing, while seeing images of like his mom and other people and things like that. Like the fact that he's becoming like this criminal like character that is the same type of thing that he was that inadvertently brought him into this world. And so like there's this big confliction between him, and he also has this awkward relationship with Lucy, who's another member of the team, and they sort of go through similar things together as well. And at the same time, it's like it's more depressing than anything else. It's not really romantic. It's a little bit more like these two people have nowhere to go except to each other, and it's like they do care about each other and everything, and they do grow an attachment to one another, but at the same time, there's a lot of times where they're just sort of like sitting around together reflecting on the things that have happened, and none of them really know how to cope with it, and instead they just keep doubling down to the things that they're doing. And it's just the thing that I wasn't expecting to get out of this series, is that I was expecting a heavy action show. I was expecting intensity. I was expecting like these power-ups and upgrades from all the augmentation, but I wasn't expecting to literally like see the decline of a character, not just like going into doing criminal activities, but just seeing his mental state like slowly deteriorate over the course of 10 episodes. That by episode 10, I honestly felt like I had watched like 3 to 4 seasons of this show, because every single episode, so much happens. And literally, even by episode 6 feels like it should be the season finale. Like, it's crazy how much happens, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. In a way, it's a good thing, because like I said, if you're thinking of this show as one solid entity, if there's no more seasons, if this is it, then yeah, I mean, it works, man. But also, you know, you don't have any time to relax in this show. You don't have you barely have any time of the characters just kind of hanging out or just like coming to terms with what's happening. Everything happens so quickly. There's a little bit of a time jump, not really much of one, but a little bit that happens after episode 6, and it's wild, man. It's wild how much it happens. And then I'm watching it, and then what's his name? I'm trying to remember the character's name. I'm looking at it. Faraday. Faraday shows up, which I guess you can consider one of the villains of the series if you don't consider the main characters low-key villains themselves. And he starts talking, and all of a sudden, it just clicks in my mind. I was like, this motherfucker is voiced by Giancarlo Esposito, motherfucking Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. Hell yeah. Character was super awkward to look at because he has 3 eyes on one side, and the uncanny valley of a human brain trying to like look at that is just like, it just didn't work. And every time I'm looking at the screen, I'm like, oh God, like it just looks so freaking weird. But Giancarlo, he did an amazing job, man. I watch English dubs, whatever, sue me. Kick me out of the anime club, I don't care. I watch English dubs. And Giancarlo Esposito did such a fucking fantastic job. I want him in more anime. I seriously want him in more anime. And also, there was a lot of other voice actor alums that I noticed. Wendy Lee, I think, showed up in the series. And what's his name? Spark Thornton, that did the voice of Saito, you know, from Kenshin. He shows up. He's in everything. So I really, really enjoyed the voice cast. The animation looks great. Even if you can tell at times there's a little bit of a lower budget, they throw the budget in when they need to in the scenes that matter, and it fucking works, man. And then also the soundtrack, a good variety of different types of music. Obviously, you sort of have that punk synthwave kind of style going into it, that kind of electronic music which is through it, but there's also scenes where like some like death metal happens in the background. There's a fight scene that happens in like a tavern, and there's like a deathcore song happening. I'm just like, fuck yeah, man. So the music is incredible. Of course, it has one of those moments where it plays like one of the main songs as the main character does something super intense towards the end of the series. Gotta love when they do something like that. You know, there's car chases, there's gunfights, there's physical battles. Everyone has these crazy augmentations. So there's a whole bunch of crazy shit that's happening here. Overall, I gotta say it was a really, really great show. Definitely enjoyed watching it. And I think that it's worth the praise that it's getting right now. I don't think it's like S tier, like top, 5 of all time or anything like that. And also it's a little bit too soon to make that judgment call. But I do think that this is something that people are going to still talk about years from now, which is something that I can't say about a lot of shows, because we live in an era where we just get so much content and so many shows, and a lot of times they come out, people are excited when they drop, and then it gets forgotten about over time. But I really don't think this one will be one of those that gets forgotten. At least I don't think so. So overall, I enjoyed it. I recommend it. Definitely check it out if you guys want to. Now, real quick, I just want to talk about one spoiler thing. So if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check out the video. But before you go, please give me a like, give me a comment, and support the channel if you want to. Subscribe. I do manga reviews, anime reviews, movie stuff, live streams. I do a whole bunch of shit on this channel. If you want to support on the deeper level, there is a Patreon and merch store link down below as well, so you guys can check that out. So real quick, just going to go into a spoiler of the final episode. I really wasn't expecting David to basically die like the way that he did. Atom Smasher was crazy, was insane. You thought that was going to be the kind of villain that he would have to overcome, but nope. And I was actually I was pretty sad about the way that it went down. Like I said, I feel like it's a big allegory for like drug use and things like that. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm an old man, but that's what I felt from it. And I felt like just David reached the point of no return. He got to the point where he wasn't even like a human anymore. Like there was just his upper torso, and yeah, what he was doing was cool. He was in like this big mech suit. He had like the magnets that could grab the guns away from people, fire them back off. It was cool for the 5 minutes he was able to use it. But then, the consequences caught up to him. And I really appreciate that in one respect, because I like when there's consequences for giant power-ups in shows. I hate sometimes when it's like an ass pull and characters just get super powerful and that's it, and there's nothing else to it. I kind of like the yin and yang to it, the equivalent exchange. So I really like that as he got more powerful, it tore more away from his humanity to the point where it eventually did him in. And then seeing Lucy actually be able to visit the moon at the end and envision him there with her, and she has nobody left. Like the whole crew is dead. And that's the thing. Like, how can you make a season 2? Literally everybody is dead. except for her. And I mean, you could continue her story, like theoretically, but you would be missing the core of this show, which was everybody together, the group. So it would be a very different show if they did a season 2. So I don't know if they would, man. But yeah, like I said, I really, really enjoyed it. Was not expecting how depressing and dark it was going to get. I was expecting the over-the-top action. I was expecting the gore. I wasn't expecting quite as many titties. So that was cool. Although they drew their nipples like really, really pointy. Did anyone else notice that? Is that just me? Maybe I was looking too hard. But I wasn't expecting the emotions that the final episode in particular was going to give. And so, yeah, man, I really, really enjoyed it. Definitely think it lives up to the hype. And yeah, maybe I should check out the game. I don't know. Or maybe not. Some people, it seems like mixed opinions on that. I'm not sure. But you guys let me know.